Yeah, I'm sure you guys have been hearing about data, 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 data. Every donor and every funder needs to see data because most times donors don't really see your program, but data usually show them a picture of what you are really doing. So right now, data are information collected to help understand your needs, to help track progress and to make decisions. Without data, how can you describe the need for your program? It's really important that you should have data for your organization. You should always keep that track. And also with data, it helps you track your information. For example, you're doing a particular project. How can you track that you're making progress? How can you track your impact? This is where data comes in. With that, you'll be able to see, okay, before the program, I had this pre-survey, and I can see this is the baseline of my program, and after the program, you need data to show that, okay, this is the post after my program. What's the progress? If it's not making progress, you can sit down and see how you can make a better decision to improve on your programs. Then, can you please go back, Sarah? And in grant writing, it's really important when you're applying for grants. It's very, very important. Most grants will ask for maybe like a success story. Most grants will ask for the impact. And most time when describing the impact, talk about what you've done. Oh, in 2024, we reached this, before now, this improved that. So it's really important because it's very important in grant writing. Yeah, we can do it now. And in data, we have two types of data. We have the qualitative and the quantitative. For the qualitative data, it's kind of descriptive in nature. It's more about storytelling, and you can get that via interviews. And we also have the quantitative. It's all about numbers, and it's good to have both picture in describing your data. If you see from your materials, you have something like this. Yeah, you can see that. Okay, this is like a program outcome from one of our program at Treetops Collective called the Team Concentric. If you look at this data, we have like before the program started and after. And with that, we're able to see the progress of these teenagers. And it's really important. Because when you're writing your grant and you're talking about the outcomes, you can reflect back on, yes, this is what we're expecting from this particular program. But last year, this is what we did. You can share your data information. Donors will say, oh, I can trust this because this is what happened the last time. Giving them this money, they are really making impact. And we used Google Form to generate this and Canva anyway. So you can see how important. Looking at this now, you can see the picture of the program and the impact. This is where data comes in. So now, what's the importance of collecting data? It shows the real need of your program. What is needed? Why are we doing this? Without data, you can't tell why you're doing it. You see, most of your proposal, they ask you for problem statements, for why, for the need for your program. So how can you describe that if you don't have data? You have to describe that with data, proving that, for example, 80% of young women need this because according to this research, that's data. You have to use numbers. You have to use stories to write the need of why they should fund your programs or project. It measures your success and impact. Without data, you cannot measure your success. You can't just start saying, oh, we made this. How did you know there was success? How did you know you are making impact? So it's really important. That's why it's very good to have a pre and a post. If you just, most people just do a post. But what I see doing just a post cannot really show what are you measuring now. How can you can't just start guessing. So you need to have that baseline. Before my program, we took this information from these people, and after my program we took this. With that you can now see, okay, before my program 2%, after my program 4%. That's a progress. And sometimes you might not see any progress. So this is where you have to sit back, relax, and see what really happened. And it can help you improve your outcome next time. Then it builds funder confidence. For example, I'm looking at a grant application and I don't really see the impact of what you've done or any data. I will assume that I cannot give you money. I will not give you money because I will say, okay, my money will just go down the drain because there's no impact. So when donors or funders see these numbers, see all this, see your stories, see your reports, your evaluation reports, they tend to have confidence in giving you money. Then it helps improve program quality. Like I said earlier, when you have your data, you can now relax, sit down, and now make decisions and see where you can improve. It will give you more ideas on how to improve based on the information you've gotten from your people or from your program. Then it supports strong grant evaluation sections. Yes, this is it. Like when I write grants, when they ask for how will you measure the impact of your grant, or what's your grant outcome, or sometimes they may not even ask you your past outcome. They'll ask you the present grant you're applying to, what's the outcome. So most time I still reflect back to what we've done. I share those data, and it's been working out well for us. Okay, I have an activity for you guys. And do you have the activity sheet? Yeah, you have that, right? Yeah. So you can pair up with someone in the room. Anybody? So one person is the interviewer and the other the participant. Then you can ask this question: what is one experience that made a big difference in your life or community? Feel free to make it professional or personal. It can be personal, it can be professional. Then you can switch roles after that. Then each person shares one powerful sentence or quote from their partner story with the group. So you can just pair yourself and thank you. Can anyone just share one story or a quote from one of your participants? You heard your participant's story. Can you just share your partner's story? Sorry. Can you just share like something you got out from that story? Can anyone share? Okay.
I think the quote that I learned from him is like, I'm paving the way for those who are coming after me. So he came here and then he learned quickly about the struggle of the people, and he struggled how to drive, he didn't know how to navigate the system. Now he just has been here for a year, and he set up a program where he can teach people how to drive. He can help people, giving them rides to hospitals and any other appointments. So basically just making a difference. Like, I've been through this, I don't want someone else to go through it, so just like paving the way for us.
This is excellent. Imagine a funder hearing this story. Do you think they'll give him money?
Yeah.
So you see why storytelling is really important. And this is part of what you should write on your grant. Like, you don't need to write the person's name or anything, but this is a good quote you can write on your application.
Thank you, Trish. So, as we just heard, a really powerful personal statement of, I'm paving the way for those that are coming after me. that is an amazing personal statement to put in a need statement in a grant. And what we're going to do now is talk about something that came up in an earlier grant writing workshop. And when an organization who hasn't been collecting data on their clients before all of a sudden wants to start doing it, it can maybe raise some red flags or maybe start instilling some fear, especially in today's climate, on why. Why do you want to do this all of a sudden? And so what I'm going to do is talk about now some ideas that how we can collect some of this data, how we can protect the information, and how we can overcome some of these objections in a way that protects the sanctity of the space that you've created with your nonprofits. So demographic data are things like the race of the people you serve, their gender identity. It's not necessarily their full name, their immigration status, and their birth dates. It can be their age, but that age can be an age range. It can be under 18. It can be 19 to 25. So it doesn't have to be specifically identifiable. It supports equity. It empowers the clients to say, hey, I am part of this group and I'm part of a group that you're serving, so I want to be identified, because so many underserved groups need to be identified, and so many times they're not counted. So when we start collecting this demographic data, it allows them to be counted. And if we do it in the right way, it allows them to be safe and it allows them to be counted, and we accomplish all of our goals. So, the first one is really important, especially in this day and age. We need to address those fears of authorities accessing that information. Explain how you're going to protect their data. If possible, limit the amount of information collected. If you don't need to collect their immigration status, if you don't need to collect their full name, their full social security number, or their immigration number, their full birthday, their address, if you don't need to collect all that information, don't. If you don't need their medical information, don't collect it. Unless you're in legal or medical fields, don't collect the information. This information has a special set of laws that govern the collection. That means you have to train your staff. That means you have to have certain software on your computers. It means you have to have certain security things going on it. That's all extra costs. So just don't collect it if you don't need it. Address language and cultural barriers. A lot of the people we serve and that you serve come from places where the information that you're collecting can be used against them. It can be scary. So it's really important that you explain why. Don't just plop a piece of paper in front of them and say, hey, fill this out. Make sure every person, whether it's a volunteer, whether it's a staff member, whether it's a board member, if they're going to be working with a person who is collecting data from a client, takes the time to explain why the information is important. And it's okay to say, we apply for grants. We use this data to show our funders the programs we use are effective. That's okay, that's transparent and it's honest, and clients appreciate honesty. And important to always make participation voluntary. Whenever possible, if you're having a checklist or anything, make the boxes so let's say, for example, you have a box that has gender. So you can say, what is your gender identity? You could have something that says male, female, non-binary, transgender. Give them an option to fill something in, and then I opt to not identify. Always give the person an opportunity to not answer. That's okay too. So if they choose to fill out 3 of the 7 questions you give them, that's okay. That gives them the autonomy to do what they want to do. Keep the questionnaires as brief as possible. I have found when you do multiple choice with predetermined categories, those are the easiest to do. Filling in boxes or checking boxes are the easiest way to go. Now, how do you track beginning metrics to ending metrics if you're going to do that? So if you need to trace information back to a specific client, the easiest way to do it is to issue an ID code to a client. Then you keep the ID code in a separate location. So the demographic information for client XYZ is kept in a separate password-protected spreadsheet with that client's name, address, and contact information that only maybe 1 or 2 people have access to. Only the people that need access to that person's identifiable information should have access to it. And that password should be changed if either of those people leave the organization. Personally identifiable information should be protected always, and it should be a priority in every organization. So, using group-only reporting. You don't need to report individual answers on surveys, and this kind of goes when you're doing a grant application. They don't want to know a full printout of every survey. They want to see a summary. I served 200 clients last year. 75% identified as female, 20% as male, 3% as non-binary, and 2% declined to identify, because I gave them the option to decline to answer, and that's okay. Train your staff on protecting personally identifiable information, PII. At my previous job, I used to have to do quarterly trainings on this, and I take it very seriously. And we're going to talk about this a lot more in depth. Whenever possible, like I said before, avoid collecting it, but if you have to collect it, we're going to talk about what it is so you know. Okay. It is information that on its own can identify, contact, or locate a specific person. Examples: a full name. Now, my full name is Tricia Smith Mulder. With that, you could probably figure out who I am, find out where I live, and all that good stuff. But if you just had my first name, is that PII? No. But if you knew my name was Tricia Smith Mulder and you had my email address together, is that PII? Mm-hmm. Yep. Exactly. Social Security number, alien registration number, those alone are definitely PII. Passport, driver's license numbers, or state ID numbers, those are individual numbers to a person. Email addresses, phone numbers, exact street addresses. So if I say I live in Middleville, Michigan, but you don't know anything else about me. Is that PII? But if I give you my full address, you could show up at my house. That's pretty identifiable. But the other thing is, if you can take one or two pieces and put them together and figure out who a person is, that becomes PII. So if you had my first name and my street address, my street name, you can start piecing together, especially in this day of the internet. So when you're doing these surveys and these intakes and things like that, and you're managing the data inside your organization, you really need to start thinking, okay, not only are these individual pieces of data PII, but together do they become PII? And who should have access to them?
I have a question
Yes.
regarding that.
Yes.
Because some state systems, like the Register of Quality, you can find in that website all the licensed shelter providers in Michigan, right? And a lot of them are home-based providers. So you can see the name of the person, the full address, phone number, and license number. All that is PII.
Yes, it
So
is.
why it is allowed, like, to put that information publicly and not like for other?
So the question was, there are certain databases on state websites, like a child care website, where a person's name, address, everything is available. That person has chosen, by becoming licensed with the state of Michigan, to make their information public. They made that choice by registering with the state of Michigan. I made that choice with the state of Michigan by registering my business and being a business owner. The executive directors of your nonprofits made that choice as well. People who choose to register their businesses, their nonprofits, registered nurses, medical providers, there are reasons why people choose to do those things. A lot of your clients may in other situations choose to do that. With you, they may choose not to, and that's their right. Releasing personally identifiable information should always be a case-by-case, autonomous situation for each person.
Thank you.
Thank you for that really good question. So now we're going to talk about, this is kind of the section right before our break. So, in case we had some extra time, we're going to do a little test on PII. I know you guys are so excited about a test, and the people online aren't getting away with not doing a test. Are they ready? I need confirmation the people online are ready.
Yes, we are.
Woo! Okay, so the first one is for the people online. Full name, PII or not?
Yes.
All right, all right. People in the audience, eye color? No, okay. People online, home address, PII?
Yes.
All right. People in the audience, date of birth? Yes. People online, zip code by itself?
No. No.
Correct. But if it's combined with what? It becomes PII.
With your name?
It could be, you're right. All right, people in the audience, phone number? Correct, PII. People online, job title?
No. No.
Correct. People in the audience, this one's easy, social security number? Yes. All right, people online, email address?
Yes.
Correct. People in the audience, favorite food? People online, driver's license number.
Yes.
People in the audience, here's one that might give you a minute to think. Student ID number. Yes. Even though it's not necessarily a government number, it's unique to the individual. People on the online, gender identity.
No.
Correct. Unless it's, but it may be sensitive information, so we definitely want to respect their opportunity to identify. And last but not least, people in the audience, first name plus city.
No.
What if you live in a really small town? What if the town has a population of 2,000 people and you have a very unique first name? Yeah, it could be. So we have to take that on a case-by-case basis. That's a big old question mark in my opinion. So that one was a coin flip in my opinion, so. All right, so does anybody have any questions on any of the things that Trish or I talked about so far today before we take a break? Nope, any questions online?
Yeah, I just have a question.
Yeah,
Hi, my name is Abdul Bari from Rahma Worldwide. I guess my question here is, how do you, because some of the grants, they ask you for like statistics on like race, ethnic background, and kind of just to promote diversity and stuff like that. So how do you balance between that and between protecting identifiable information?
what I have found, the best way to go about it is to make the collection of that data a separate questionnaire for if you have an intake form for your clients, have that be a multiple choice section where that data is maybe populated into a completely different spreadsheet or a different database, and it's just maintained separately. Make sure you try to make it multiple choice with an option for them to always decline to answer, or you should always have the standard answers and then have an other where they can fill in the blank and then a decline to answer option as the last two. You should always have those. I recommend you should always, nonprofit organizations should collect gender identity, racial demographics. They want to know that information. I think it's important to know the income ranges of the people you're working with, because a lot of funders want to know if you're serving people that, a very common phrase I see is ALICE. That stands for Asset Limited Income Constrained Employed. Those are the people who aren't necessarily in poverty but are working really hard, and one unexpected bill from a car repair to a medical bill could just throw their life into chaos. And a family of four making $73,000 a year is considered an ALICE family. So we're not talking like destitute families. So you should have some income ranges thrown in there. Depending on who you work for, people may want to know if the people you serve are veterans, if they identify as having a physical or cognitive impairment. those types of things. It just depends on who you work for. But again, always give them an option of other fill in the blank and then decline to answer. That's important.
Thank you. I was just wondering, how would you deal with the application for a potential donor? For example, the potential donor is asking for addresses of board members and date of birth and stuff like that, and you're not comfortable sharing that. How would you deal with that?
A specific individual donor or a grantor?
A grantor.
I'll be honest with you, I've never had a grant. I've filled out literally hundreds of grant applications and never had them ask for an address of a client, a specific client. I would proceed with extreme caution with that particular grantor. I've never heard of that. I'm not saying it's not possible that it's legitimate, but I've never seen it in the 8 years I've been writing grants. And I submit about 30 grants a month.
Yeah, we did have it, and they were asking for the staff information, so I was just wondering how would you handle that?
Staff information?
Yes.
I would provide them the resumes of the staff and provide the address of the organization as their address.
And date of birth would be just the date of foundation of the organization?
They don't need the date of birth of your staff.
Yeah.
No,
We had the situation, it's been a bit weird.
no, they don't need to know how old your staff are.
Exactly.
That just seems odd to me. I'd like to know who that funder is so I can call them up and stay away.
Okay. So practical ways to collect data. Yeah, we have different ways to collect these data. And one of the ways is a paper form, a one-page form. Most times your questions should not be so long. When it's so long, sometimes it discourages people to fill it up. So one pager, it's okay. And also we have online forms such as the Google form. And Google Forms, at Treetops, most times we use Google Forms. It's free, it's easy to use, and it's kind of straightforward. Then we have the Kobo toolbox. And most times, staff members, it's very important to assist because not everyone that is good with that. So it's good to assign like a staff that you can be with. You can be with the person that is filling the survey form to fill it together with the person. It's really important to just be by the person's side to help out because not everyone, like we work with teenagers also, and some of them are just newcomers, some of them are not so good with technology. And with that, we always assign a staff member to help collect these data from them. We also have SMS and WhatsApp micro survey. Now, most people are now on WhatsApp, and you can also get information from them. Then in-person interviews and focus group. Yeah, interviews is really good for your qualitative data because you tend to hear stories like the role play you guys did previously. You notice you were talking to each other. That's more like an interview. And also we have kiosks or tablet checking, QR codes. It's so nice. QR code right now is so nice. With your phone, you can just scan in the code and fill up a form and get your information. So collecting data should not be a problem. We have like so many tools you can use to collect that. Then starting from scratch. Then you should always clarify the why. Why are you collecting these data? You should always inform anybody you're collecting their data why you are doing that. You can't just say, okay, I have a pre-survey form or a post-survey form or a mid-survey form for you to fill without telling them why. The why. You should always tell them, oh, I'm collecting this information because we need to measure the success of our program or our donors. This particular program is a funded program, and we need your details for donors to trust us to give us this fund to make more impact. Be very transparent when collecting data. You should not be sneaky, just be transparent to collect these data. Then your intake form should be simple as possible and use simple English. Not everyone can understand complicated English, and you should always be there to answer every question when they're filling those intake forms, because some might get confused and they may not understand the question. We've had an experience at Treetops where we administered a pre-survey forms. When we got back these forms, we realized most of these students, they did not understand what was that. So it was like we had to redo it, and a staff person was there to like explain, oh, this is what you should do, this is what you should do. Then it's good to, when you're working with clients that speak different languages, it's good for your forms to be translated. And right now, it's so easy to translate things with AI. You don't need to pay anyone. It can help you translate any language, like so easy. So it's good to have multiple languages. You're working with people that speak different languages, you should have that in different languages. It will help them understand better. Also, it's good to create a basic data storage area. Like you should have spreadsheet, you should have password. All staff members should not have access to those information except those working on that project. And that's why it's so good for staff member to always fill up that confidentiality forms, because it's not good to take because some of these informations are sensitive and you need to protect this information. And after all, when reporting to donors, you don't report like their full name, just like what Tricia said, their date of birth, their this. You're just giving a summary of everything. So you should have all your information protected, even from other staff members, except those that are directly working. Like our information, if you're not working on a particular project, you have no access to that particular project. You don't have access to those informations. And sometimes after using those information, sometimes we delete them, especially when we are demanding because we have some programs whereby we need those social security number or alien numbers. Whenever we report that on DMS, because we submit that to it's a state grant. Whenever we submit those information, we delete it immediately from our system. We don't keep those information because it's personal. And it's just like 2 staff members that have access to that particular folder. Yeah.
Now what we're going to talk about is, so a lot of people already are collecting some data. We're going to talk about how to improve an existing system. And then next we're going to talk about how to kind of start from scratch if you're not doing anything right now, and how to get going. So if you already have something started and you're like, whoa, I need to do better. So first and foremost, close those gaps. The first thing you need to do is take a look at your dream grants. What are some grants that you really want to go after, but you just think are out of reach? And what are some of the questions in those grants? And what things do you need to prove and start working towards? And what questions do you need to answer in order to be able to become competitive for those grants? That's the kind of data you need to collect. Streamline the collection of the data. If you're like me, and up until oh, I hate to admit it, December of 2024, kept all of my notes in a plethora of legal pads and discovered Monday.com for my workflow management for my team of 5. Yes, I have 5 team members. And I just moved from legal pads to Monday.com. I literally cut 10 hours out of my work week by just doing that. So sometimes, yes, there's a learning curve to learning some new technology, but the amount of time I've saved since then, you're talking to an older person. I'm 50. It's okay to learn some new technology. It ends up saving you time in the long run. So streamline, move away from those handwritten logs, move to spreadsheets if you don't want to pay for a subscription. Google Sheets is free. If you don't want to pay for Excel and Microsoft, Google Sheets is free and it's just as functional. Cloud case management or CRM platforms. We'll talk in a few minutes about how to get access to some of these tools for free or on the really cheap. Add your client's voice and qualitative data. Trish talked about that, and we kind of went through that in the exercise. Don't just focus on race, gender, income range, things like that. I'm still have the goosebumps. I'm paving the way for the future generations to come. That was something we talked about an hour and a half ago, and I'm still remembering that. There was a comment that I heard in a workshop last week that's still resonating with me, and that was a personal testimony from someone. So qualitative mixed in with quantitative proves success and shows impact just as much. And focus groups are a really good way to do both of those. It's a good way to get that quantitative data, overcome those objections and barriers, and get those wonderful personal stories, all with a couple of hours. And all you have to do is buy some snacks. Enhance privacy. We've talked about it. I know it feels like we're probably, just hammering this home, but I can't. How many of you have gotten an email saying your data's been breached? Everybody on the Zoom call, I'm sure too. Protect it, protect it, protect it. All right, so we're going to talk a little bit now on some tools that you can use. All right, so for those of you that don't know, there's this really cool organization called TechSoup. Not Campbell Soup, but it's TechSoup. Who in the room's heard of TechSoup? All right, so it is free to sign up for TechSoup. You have to be a nonprofit to sign up for it. And it is a philanthropy workplace that connects nonprofits with donated or steeply discounted technology and or training. Okay? Now, the thing with TechSoup is, for the really in-demand technology, there's sometimes a wait list. So if you're like, I really need Adobe, and you might have to wait a few months to get through the wait list. Or you could apply for the discounted version. But instead of paying $150 a year, I'm just using an example, I don't know for sure, it might be $20 a year. That's still a pretty good bargain. So joining is free, but some of the products and services cost money. They have anything you can think of, customer relations management software, Zoom, Adobe, Google stuff, Microsoft Office, you name it, they've got it. And once you sign up, you can just go through. And the nice thing is they will connect you with an advisor. You can set up a meeting and tell them your needs, and they will help you decide what you need. They will guide you. Salesforce is one of the most popular CRM platforms out there. And it can also be very costly. I'm going to be very honest with you. However, through the Power of Us program, they offer 10 free licenses to nonprofits in pro bono training. It is a very, very, very basic platform, and they will constantly try to upsell you. I've been through the process before. You have to learn how to say no. You have to get those, no. You have to learn how to say no all the time to that. And you are limited to 10. Anything above 10 licenses is pretty cheap after that. But 10, that's a pretty good deal. You can go through fundraising, you can manage your donors. You can manage your grant tracking. You can manage your clients. You can do anything and everything through it that you need. It's not going to have all the bells and whistles and all the customizations that some of these built-out Salesforce CRMs do. But it's free until you can afford some of the upgrades. It's a good start. If you have nothing, it's better than what you have. All right, and now I'm turning it over for Trish to bring it home.
Okay, right now we have the Google Forms. How many of you here have used Google Forms for your survey? Great. And how was it? Was it hard? Was it easy? Okay. So Google Form is free. That's the good thing. There's a paid version of Google Form anyway. But I don't think you need that. Google Form is free. It's easy to use, and it can help you analyze your data and even give you some graphs at the end. Do you know that? Good. And most times that picture, like if you look at the evaluation forms there that I shared with you guys, those pictures are really good. Like people enjoy, instead of reading long stories, but looking at the data in graphs is kind of very, very nice and good. It's easy to just spot, oh, this, that. And it's best for registrations, like intake forms, feedback, evaluations. And also it can integrate into Google Sheets, where you can save that for the future, and where you can also download your Google Sheets. And it's great for internal data collection and participant surveys. So Google Forms is an excellent tool for nonprofit. We use that at Treetops, and it's been helping us. So Google Form is just the name, like as Tricia said, it's very good to just use first name. You don't need to put the full name. That's really good. And you can put options, yes or no. It's just so easy and nice. But we can assess that right now.
I have a question about the Google Cloud space.
Mm-hmm.
So Google Forms I've used to collect data.
Mm-hmm.
I'm wondering if you've ever heard about BigQuery, which is another like Google Cloud platform to analyze the data.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any information on that from personal experience?
Yeah, those particular one, it's the paid version of Google Form. To get access, to get it integrated into that, you need to pay.
Okay.
That's the paid version.
Thank you.
Okay. SurveyMonkey is also similar to Google Forms. I would say it's similar, but it has more. You can do more. You can do like branching. What I mean by branching, for example, maybe you're starting your question and you start with, let me say, maybe you have a program for two different genders. Maybe you have for female, for male. You can ask, what's your gender? Once the person click on it, it can direct them to a different part of questions and different part. Google Form does that, but it's kind of limited. But SurveyMonkey, it does that so well. And SurveyMonkey, they have the paid and the unpaid version. The unpaid version just have limited, just like a simple survey. So I would suggest, if you want to, instead of you using the unpaid version for SurveyMonkey, it's better to go use Google Form. But if you have money, you can use the paid version of SurveyMonkey. It's also good. It also helps you to analyze your report at the end, where it can put them into graphs and all that. So that's the good thing about SurveyMonkey too. It's just similar to Google Form, but the difference is that the paid version, it's so good. It's really good. It can analyze your report. It can also write like a summary, because they have this AI integrated into the paid version. It can help you write like your report. You can now download your report. You don't need to do anything. That's the good thing about it. If you notice from there, we have different programs. We have program 1 and program 2 in your form. So you can choose any of the program, or you can come up with your own program. Your group can come up with your own program, or you can choose any of these, either program 1 or program 2. I don't know. So your group can be made up 3 to 4, or how you want it to be. So you stay in the group, then you pick one of that. Then you can go through the goal, the activities, and at the end, you can answer the question, what is the quantitative data in that? What is the qualitative data in that? And where would you collect it? Is it pre? Is it mid? Is it post? Pre is before your program starts, most times in the intake forms, while mid is in the middle of your program. And mid is really important. Why I said mid is important is that with mid you can see what you're doing wrong easily and quickly adjust before the end of the program. Then post is after. Then what tool would you use? We've talked about different tools. We've talked about TechSoup. We've talked about Google Form and all. So what tools will you use? Then choose one person to share back the plan. So you can just stay in group, maybe 3. Okay. Is any group willing to share? Who wants to share?
We will volunteer,
Okay.
even though they aren't working.
Okay.
So we chose called Sample One, the
Okay.
Refugee Team Leadership Club. For the qualitative data, we said we could collect data on the amount of students that show up to the program, the gender, so like the amount of students that are female, male, or identified another. And then grades before and after programs, since there's an academic perspective to it. For qualitative, we said we could do well-being questions, personal stories, and mentorship. Like mentorship, relationship surveys. And then we said that we would collect pre, mid, and post. So like pre, how are grades doing? What do you want to work on? Mid, to see if there's a growth like on the program. And then post, to get feedback about like what to improve. And then what tools we could use. We said surveys, a school database that already exists, a group circle with somebody recording the conversations, and then personal stories, like a video personal stories.
That's awesome. Nice. So I have one small piece of feedback.
Yes, please.
When it comes to recording in minors, you need to either be very conscientious about keeping them off camera or getting signed consents from their parents
Yeah.
or guardians.
Thank you.
most times we don't show our members' faces. Yeah.
Audio recordings without identifying names is different. You don't want to do like video recordings. Because I understand you don't want to like miss any important information. So I would maybe consider just doing an audio recording.
It's really good feedback.
Yeah, great. Question time. Okay.
I do have a question, just because I missed a little bit, but I wanted to ask more of like, I know they mentioned female and male on this example. Would that still be quantitative data, or would it be more of qualitative data?
That would be quantitative.
Quantitative.
Yeah, gender identity is considered quantitative.
Okay.
And we did cover it a little bit. You know, one of the things, you know, consider it multiple choice.
Right.
We recommend doing male, female, giving a non-binary transgender option, an other option, and then an option to I choose not to identify. Always give a person an other option and then an option to not
Okay.
identify.
Got it. Thank you.
Any other questions?
When you're presenting, like mixed qualitative and quantitative, what would be the best recommended way to present them together? Like, let's say you're doing an infographic, for example. What would it look like to have them both in one concise document?
Yeah. The document you're holding have that. Can I have? Because I have it. Okay, can I use yours? Okay. The other side, I think we have. Yeah, like most of these here are our quantitative data. Then when you go to the back and the last paragraph, the last part there, can you see a quote there? Yes. Yes. That was from an interview. So you can see everything is just in one.
I see.
But unfortunately, those darn grant portals that we always get stuck with don't give us an option to always do that. So, you know, one of the things that we can do is, you know how a lot of them say other information, you know, optional documents that might help explain. If they give you an option to attach a document, that would be an excellent, that's like something like that, attach it. If there's an optional document, you should always attach it. You should have that optional document ready to go. And then, you know, for working it into like a needs statement or an opportunity statement, you could say XYZ charity served this population, and here's, you know, blank females, blank males, blank non-binary transgender, blank chose not to identify. Get all the data out of the way, maybe do some bullet points. With this programming, we hope to be able to expand XYZ's program, and through this, we hope to pave the way for those, and for those that are coming after us. You know, as our former client said, he hopes to pave the way for those coming after us. And, you know, use that as the last sentence, as that little punch that they remember. Make it, put it as the exclamation point.
Thank you.
Anything else? Any more questions? You guys have us.
If you're,
She's really smart.
I know some, like, for the do you guys suggest whether you already have outside data to help you with the pre? Do you prefer for yourself to create another evaluation of your own collection, or use outside sourcing as well to have two different approaches? I don't know how to ask that question, but I'm trying to say, like, whether it's better to use some outside data to help you with your post or your end goal, to kind of differentiate them from different regions, like maybe GR from another city from Grand Rapids, no, a different city from Denver. Sorry.
Are you trying to it depends on what you're trying to show.
Okay.
So, for example, I have a client I'll just say in northern Michigan. It's a very white county, overwhelmingly white. But and you wouldn't think by looking at the demographics that they serve a diverse population. But if I compare it against the demographics of that county, they're very diverse. So I have to use those outside numbers to show that they're as diverse as you can pretty much get in that area.
Mhm.
Does that answer your question?
Yes. Thank you. I didn't know how to ask that question, but like, I know that people try to get, for example, like, why is Grand Rapids progressing in the city compared to another city the same size and scale?
Mhm.
What is lacking, right?
Right.
So you want to compare that
Yeah.
demographic to see what are still pipelines that need to be demonstrated to the community that, hey, this is where things need to improve.
So, so I use the U.S. Census information for the particular county that they're in to compare it against the demographic data they're collecting to say, yeah, it looks like, yeah, I know they serve 80% white kids, but the county's 95% white. So
Right,
they're really diverse comparatively.
right.
And we have to point that out. They're reaching like every minority kid in the whole county. So we need to support their work because they're making an impact.
Right.
And they serve overwhelmingly indigenous population in that county because they're near any tribal lands. So
I have a question on data, like, I think kind of what he was asking, but like, let's say in Grand Rapids or Greater Grand Rapids, if you're working with minority, like refugee, immigrant community, let's say African immigrants, what's the best data? Where can somebody get data? Like, how many people are from different immigrant communities? If you want to use data to, like make a case for a grant, or
You
do
say
we
that
have
already exists?
yeah, that's existing currently. Because I think there's a time it was so hard to find data on even immigrant refugee communities, how many from different communities. Do we have something that has been developed in the last 5 years?
unfortunately, this is something I've learned with my good friend Frida has educated me very well to say that, like for example, African refugees on the census have to say they're Black, African Americans. And they don't learn that they're Black until they get here. That is something they learn. And so that is not something that's well done when it comes to racial demographics. The community health needs assessment for Kent County, I believe was the first year was 2023, where the people who were surveyed were able to identify if they were refugees, immigrants, or new Americans. in addition to their racial demographics. So you could reference that if you're in Kent County. I believe the new one in Muskegon County that's being done either this year or next year is modeling that. So that's good.
Yeah.
That is where some advocacy can definitely be done and needs to be done.
Yeah, because sometimes, like let's say African refugee needs can be unique to even as compared to like African American needs.
Oh, I'm sure. Oh,
You know, your
absolutely.
your language needs, your cultural needs are so unique. You know, and if you are trying to make a grant proposal, if you don't have accurate data, then how do you make a case?
Yeah.
When you don't have the data.
So that is where, unfortunately, I think some of the internal client data collection needs to come from you. And you can say, here's my client's needs. This is the data my clients are telling me. These are our needs. This is what they're telling me. And just make a compelling story from what your client, you've got a sample size. How many clients do you have?
Oh, you mean, I'm just saying in general. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't work directly now, but I'm from Kenya myself, but I've worked as a volunteer with African immigrants for many years.
Yeah.
And I know there's always needs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I know, like, with Frida's organization, she touches 2,000 people a year. So she's collecting data for them. So, and you guys are touching.
I can add something here. Yeah, because I remember, I think it was last year, so we were the same issue to collect data. But when we went to DHS, they helped us to have the number of African migrants who live in Kent County. So sometimes you can use DHS. Yes. Yeah.
That's good to know. Thank you. I didn't know that. That's good information. That's great information.
You mentioned the economic impact report?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
That's
it's kind of a little higher. It kind of glosses over some nationalities, but there's a lot of information there for West Michigan too.
It's called economic?
Yeah, I'll send it with a follow-up.
Okay.
But the West Michigan Welcome Plan Collaborative puts out an economic. They participate in the economic.
It's done officially through the Chamber of Commerce.
And it does highlight the economic impact of immigrants in West Michigan. And they do talk about the regions where the immigrants are coming from, and that's important. Because it's important to show the value, not just the human value, but, not every.
The money.
Yeah, the economic value that people work hard. Immigrants. I mean, everybody, but.
No,
Our immigrants work.
you guys work way harder than me. Yeah.
I have a question not specific about data collection. I think this is just.
Well, if it's not about data, I don't want to.
Not, I guess, not specific about like how we're collecting data in our survey, but encouraging people to take surveys, or I guess like for me, I just started working at a nonprofit where I have to collect data, and I've sent like surveys out to like students or families, and have had like, we're available in the afternoon with translators. Please come in person, either do it in person or do it electronically. And I think the engagement that we hope usually is way more than we expect.
It is.
So
Okay.
I guess I'm trying to open a dialogue, a conversation on like creative ways to get engagement.
Okay. What, is there a certain ethnicity?
I think it's
Is there a large variety of ethnicities?
it's a diverse population.
Okay.
I work at a specifically cultural center school where we have newcomers everywhere. So.
Okay, cool. So here's a couple of ideas. So I have found if you can capture, so it's a school, is there like open house days where you're going to have maybe enrollment days where everybody comes and like walks through and figures out where their classes are and all that? Maybe you can be right up when you can be that annoying person when they first walk in the door with the QR code, making them scan it and fill out the 3, 4, 5 maximum multiple choice question survey. That populates right into a database. Make it 5 questions or less with the most important information you need. And just like, and then when they leave, did you fill out my survey? Did you fill out my survey? And try to capture them before that. And if they don't have smartphones, because not everybody does, have some papers right there. And maybe try to have them translated in the 12 most common languages in Kent County. And you can find those 12 most common languages listed on the West Michigan Welcome Plan Collaborative website.
Perfect, thank you.
I would also like to add.
And have candy.
And
Bribe them with candy and pens. People love pens. I don't know why.
Yeah.
Candy and pens. Little mini candy bars and pens.
Yeah, at Treetops we use candies.
Okay,
Yeah.
good to know.
I'd add to that, Grand Valley does this thing with their surveys where they'll say, oh, fill out the survey and win a gift card. But not everybody gets the gift card, so it's like an incentive, or you might be able to win.
Oh yeah, be entered into a drawing for a chance to win. And then, you do one $50 gift card. But that's something you'll have to get approved with the powers that be, blah, blah, blah. You might be better off just being the annoying person at the front door. And with a bag full of candy and a bunch of cool pens.
We have like no budget.
Yeah, well, you're a public school, so
Yeah.
makes sense. So candy and pens, it is.
I was going to share something. What you say last week, we hosted an event for families.
Uh-huh.
We have 800 families, and we were surveying just the preschool families. So
800.
when and the check-in with the family sign-in for the preschool program, we were like, oh, you are a preschool family. Can you go at the end of the table? We have something special for you because you are a preschool family. Came another family, and they asked, do I have to go there? Oh, no, you are an alien family. Go on and enjoy your afternoon. But we make them feel special. They didn't know it was for
That's special.
And we compared the check-in list with the service, and we have 100% participation.
All right.
That's
So
amazing.
make them feel special.
Okay. Wanna try that?
That's amazing with a big smile and annoying, just, survey, candy, pens, make them feel special. It's a lot easier, it's harder to dismiss that than it's way easier to just swipe left or right, whatever, on an email and make it disappear. I don't know, I don't need Tinder either. And delete emails, it's easy, it's just easy to get rid of that stuff than when you're faced with it in person. And if somehow you can manage to have like a tablet where they just boop, 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 done. Did you have that, like a setup where they had
QR code.
QR
Online
code?
QR code.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the first question is what you want to answer this survey in English, Spanish, French, and I don't remember which other language. So families choose, and 3 or 4 questions. 3 questions. That language was the 4th one.
Yeah, you could probably do that online and then have like some more, some other less common languages on paper.
Yeah. We deal a lot with people who don't even read or write their own language. So we have to use our navigators to assist them in asking the survey questions. And we don't give them their $25 card without a survey being turned in. So it's difficult sometimes to get surveys completed. So, you have to think various ways to get them to do that, but.
Good questions. Any more?
With funding, is there opportunities to get like that funds to, for the $20 gift card, or is there any resources out there that can lead to like, hey, I'm working to collect this type of data, but I need a little bit of funding?
Yes.
How would you navigate those?
The Grand Rapids Community Foundation has a nonprofit technical assistance fund, NPTA. They will award up to $10,000, more commonly anywhere from $2,500 to $5,000, for you to work with a consultant to help you launch a technical assistance plan. And so, contact, and so it's a grant, you don't have to pay it back, and yes. Yep. Are you in Kane County?
Mayor, they do up to 10 gift cards, and you need to specify really well how you are going to use those gift cards. And they allow, Mayor?
Oh.
And they allow it to use them for projects.
Are you in Kane County?
Yes, I'm just asking just to see.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Just asking questions.
Yep.
Really.